Blade and Sorcery is also known as one of the best physics-based combat VR games, and while it released nearly 5 years ago, it has always been stuck in early access. But now, they finally released their giant 1.0 update that, besides some amazing new features, also adds the long-awaited story mode to the game, which directly marks this insane update as the official full release of Blade and Sorcery after half a decade. So let's dive right into it. This insanely popular game from the developers at Warpfrog is one of the most impressive VR experiences that you can get on any headset. And while it was originally made for PC VR, there is also a standalone version available for the Meta Quest lineup named Blade and Sorcery Nomad. But even though this version is almost a full port of the original game, it does of course take a big hit when it comes to the graphics. Even so, this big 1.0 update that already released for PC VR will also come to the standalone Nomad version. And in addition, it will also give a big boost for those who will be using a Meta Quest 3 headset. And while for many, Blade and Sorcery was already everything they ever wanted in VR, like a place to beat the ever-living crap out of whoever and wherever you want, which includes its massive assortment of melee weapons, AI enemies, and mod support to turn the game into whatever you could think of. But for some, the fighting sandbox had all of the right bones, but lacked the story, progression, and world building that you come to expect from most games. And that is where the 1.0 update is going to change everything, because the first and most important thing that comes with it is their new addition of the story mode named the Crystal Hunt. And this game mode will serve as the entrance to the so-called Dalgarian ruins, and where multiple factions are trying to get their hands on the treasures within. It is you as the player that has to visit these spots to gather intel on the true location of these mysterious ruins, with each of these different factions presenting their own challenges with loot and gold, skilled and based on the difficulty level, and with the ultimate goal that you will eventually enter the Dalgarian's ruins yourself. But during the story, you will find out that each faction has also their own motives and agenda regarding their so-called Crystal Hunt, letting the player choose if you want to delve deeper into this lore to piece together the bigger picture. But this is completely optional and not needed to progress the game. So if you want to just get to the combat, then this is also possible, which creates some extra level of immersion for those who want it, while also not making it feel like an obligation for those who don't. And this update doesn't stop there, because it has so much more crazy features. But talking about immersion, let's first have a quick word from the company that made this video possible, because none other than Cat VR, who are also known to create VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are taking VR once again to the absolute next level. Because while we're normally limited by the space and boundary systems inside our virtual reality experiences, it is Cat VR that have been creating VR treadmills that let you run, crouch, and jump without having to worry about any limitations. And since their most recent version, known as the C2 Core, is compatible with nearly every headset, it is often also considered as the dream upgrade for any VR setup. And they even go so far that for those hardcore fans, they have high-end models which include things like haptic feedback as well as a vehicle up, making it feel even more realistic, like riding on a horse inside VR. And to top it off, you can also use the code VRelity to get a $130 discount on your purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. And the next awesome new Blade and Sorcery feature that got unlocked is that you can now choose the background of your own character. This can go all the way from a strong gravity mage to starting off with no magic at all. And for those hardcore players, this update also lets you tweak some settings like damage values and even the option to include permadeath, which you can toggle on if you really like to suffer. But they also added in some more obscure features, like the choice to translate the in-game language automatically or to leave it out so that you have to use pen and paper to decipher the hidden messages the old school way. And one of the most requested new features that will also play a major role is the objective of finding crystal cores, because these are the new main currency for progressing throughout the story, since you can later use them in your in-game home for unlocking a new skill tree branch. Here you can choose between 5 options, being fire, gravity, lightning, mind, and body. while also letting you use the smaller crystal charge that you can find in dungeons to purchase skills within it. And if you manage to get your hands on a second crystal core, then you can decide to either unlock a new skill branch to diversify your character, or to push onto the next tier in a branch that you already unlocked, letting it up to the player to decide what is best for you. Now, all these features, a bunch of bug fixes, and a lot of quality of life improvements are all included into this 1.0 version. And best of all, it is automatically unlocked for anyone who already owned the game before, with no additional DLC charges or anything in that direction. But for those who don't own the game yet, do know that the initial price will bump from $20 up to $30, which is still a steal for such a big VR title, which makes this update an absolute must for those people who already own the game to jump back into it. And while Quest users might have to wait a bit longer, it will definitely be worth it in the end. Although, if you are new to VR, keep in mind that this game can be quite intense, and it might be better to start off with some calm titles instead. But that is not all, because there are also some other crazy VR games that you have to play on your VR headset. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.